Good morning, everyone. It's morning here. Welcome back to another video. And today we're interviewing Conrad Matsumoto. Conrad, could you tell us a little bit about yourself, please?
Sure. I'm from California, and I've been living in Japan for around 25 years now. Surprisingly, I thought I'd only be here for a year, but I love Japan. Many good things about it. The people, the food, it's safe. And it's a very easy and comfortable life here.
Good. Yeah, I think so too. So I understand that you've owned an English school here, and maybe you could tell us how you started that and what advice you would give to someone who wants to start a school or another business in Japan?
Sure. Well, I would say before you even thought of starting a school, you'd maybe you're doing private lessons and you're meeting people that are wanting lessons. I wouldn't open up a school unless you had at least minimum 25 students who, are going to join up immediately. Meaning renting a proper, space to hold the school.
Yeah.
And before doing that, of course, you'd want to be involved with your community. And I like basketball and tennis. And so just doing those types of activities, you're meeting local people. And of course, you're doing things with other foreigners. Usually, I mean, at least in my case. One more thing I would suggest is doing some volunteer work in the community. And what I would do was I went to the local library and said, if you'd like me to read some English books, one Sunday afternoon a month, and that was nice. I could meet the local people and just kind of get my name and face recognized. So that was nice.
You're a lot kinder than I am. I didn't think of doing all those things. Yeah, that's good advice. Very good advice. So yeah, you've had a very positive experience of living here, but maybe you could elaborate a bit more on your experience of living in Japan.
Sure. Well, I mentioned about just feeling safe. I think everyone knows that Japan is a no-gun culture country. So that takes that equation out, which doesn't mean that you're completely safe, but much safer, I feel.
Yeah.
And yeah, I guess maybe a couple of surprises, or not culture shock, but just about the culture is at first I had to get used to was it's okay if there's silence.
Right.
Yeah, being from America, it's like if there's 2 seconds of silence, somebody's going to fill up that space.
Yeah.
But here, it's okay to just wait 3, 4, 5 seconds and let someone gather their thoughts, especially if you're speaking in English.
Yeah.
But even when Japanese speak with each other in Japanese, those silent gaps are common and it's accepted and all right. And now I'm comfortable with that. But at first that was kind of strange.
I said I wasn't going to talk much in our interview, but it reminded me of a story. And I experienced it for the first time in Canada. There was a lady, great lady named Yuriko, and I worked at a college in Vancouver, and we took students skiing and different things. And Yuriko would kind of insist on going up with me on the chairlift. I want to go up on the chairlift with Kevin. So she'd go up on the chairlift with me and sit there and not say a thing. I would try to engage her in conversation, but she was silent. She just wanted to sit next to me and enjoy the ride up. And that was it. So I was like, okay, this is interesting.
Yeah.
Right. So things things are changing all the time. Do you still think that teaching is a viable option as a job for young people? So Americans, Canadians, British people coming to Japan to teach. And then also, how about older people? Let's say
Yes.
over 40 or over 50, can they teach in Japan?
Yeah, I would answer that absolutely. Young people. In fact, Japan, most jobs prefer someone right out of college. So the pay is great right out of college, and usually you get $3,000 right off the bat. So that's a good income for a new college graduate, and the expenses are not so many. I feel, compared to if you were living, back home. But yeah, you mentioned like over 40, over 50. I would say it's pretty tough unless you have, if money is not your goal, then yeah, it's fine. But the bad thing or the sad thing about teaching English here is you start at $3,000 if you're lucky, $3,000 a month, and 20 years later you're at the same pay.
That's true.
So,
yeah. I felt like I was doing really well back then. I'm still happy with my life, but yeah, it's true. Yeah. You've covered a lot actually, but any other advice that you can think of that about someone considering moving here, living in Japan as a teacher?
Yeah, I would say definitely get either a TEFL or a TESOL certificate at the least. You want to have some knowledge of how to teach English and what to expect from students, and even volunteer or try to get maybe some private lessons with, you can go two routes. One is at an ESL school, you're teaching immigrants, and the other is like at a intensive English program where you're teaching students who come usually for a short period of time, maybe 2 or 3 months, 6 months. So definitely get some experience and some education on how to teach it. Yeah.
That was Tiger.
Yeah.
Great advice. One problem you touched on was the silences. Yeah, as a teacher, I think you need to be prepared that there's going to be, you got to wait for the silences sometimes.
Yeah.
If you end up teaching, even at an Eikawa school or at university or. Do you have any interesting stories about cultural differences or anything that surprised you while living here?
Well, actually, I'm going back, moving back to California next month. And for example, this was a huge shock to me is we met a very good Japanese friend for lunch just yesterday. And, he took us out to lunch and, gave us a omiyage, a souvenir, and an envelope. And we get home and open the envelope, and there's equivalent to $500 cash.
Wow.
So he's giving us this present.
Please introduce me.
Yeah. But I was thinking, would an American ever give this Japanese or Italian?
No way.
Yeah, I mean, they would treat the guy to lunch, but giving an envelope, of money would be unheard of. And it does happen here.
Right.
Yeah, a farewell gift.
It's never happened to me.
Well, you haven't left.
Okay, I gotta leave. All right.
Well, yeah, and about that same thing about like attending a Japanese wedding here.
Right.
Japanese weddings, as you know, you usually bring, maybe $300 cash in an envelope. We don't give, as in our countries, I think normally people give gifts, presents, and some people do give cash also, but here nobody gives gifts. It's monetary, and it's usually around $300. So
Yeah.
That was surprising too.
I think one of the reasons about the gifts, if you're going to give someone a gift, the houses tend to be smaller, the apartments tend to be smaller. You got to think about, does this person want another thing?
Yeah.
Would it be useful? And so, yeah, cash is kind of more maybe practical. Yeah,
That's true.
yeah, yeah. But no, people can be very generous, can't
Yeah.
they? Yeah, it's very nice. Right. Sorry. So yeah, what do you think of university teaching in Japan? And
Yeah.
are the students good? Did you,
Mhm.
did you enjoy it? You taught at universities quite a lot, I think.
Yeah. Quite a few universities. Yeah, maybe total about 20 years.
Wow.
And I would say teaching at a university is the goal of any teacher who comes here and plans to make a career out of it. Because if you stay at the language school or the ALT, as I mentioned, your salary will never go beyond $3,000 a month.
Right.
Whereas if you get part-time jobs at universities, your salary will increase a little. You'll never become rich being an English teacher here. But you have plenty of vacation time. So if you teach at university, you get 3 months off a year, which more than makes up for the relatively low pay compared to if you worked at a company. As far as university students, personally, I really like teaching Japanese university students. I feel for the most part, they're kind and innocent. Some are lazy, but you get lazy students in anywhere. I would say if you read, if you search internet, you'll see a lot of university teachers or people complaining about Japanese students. I have, of course, but for the most part, I really enjoyed teaching at university and the Japanese students. I felt that they're friendly. They want to learn English. Some of them don't, right, because they're generally required classes. But yeah, I really had a positive experience with it.
Yeah, I think most of them want to. They'd love to be able to speak it. Some of them think it's impossible. But yeah, that's what most people would like to speak another language if they could. Yeah,
sure.
Yeah. Yeah, I think in general it's a positive experience too. Yeah. I think if you go on the internet in general, you're gonna find the people complaining about whatever it is. The happy people aren't there complaining, so it can kind of skew your view of a country or a profession or whatever. I remember years ago there was so much negativity about teaching at Eikaiwa schools, which I was quite upset about because I just felt it was not the real deal. There were lots of good jobs and lots of good schools out there, but if you read the sites on the internet, it was just terrible. Why would you ever do it? But it wasn't really the truth. So thank you very much for today, Conrad. Conrad and I have been friends for many years here, and I'm going to miss you, Con.
I'll miss you too, Kevin.
Thanks a lot for this. And,
sure.
Yeah. Thank you, everyone, for watching. Please subscribe if you haven't. Hope you will. And we'll see you in the next video. Thank you very much.
Goodbye.